YouTube, it is Kyoonix, and I am here to satisfy a few requests I've gotten recently to do a tutorial on applying the underwater effect with CyberLink PowerDirector. So CyberLink PowerDirector, as some of my viewers might know, this is a video editing program that I used way back in the early days of my channel before I became all about Sony Vegas. And it's been a long time since I've used this software, but my mother recently found it when she was cleaning the house, and I got the opportunity to reinstall it on one of my computers. So I'm really happy to have it back. It's pretty nostalgic, it's pretty cool. And based on memory, I feel like the underwater effect is one of the only effects that I sort of made a mainstay on my channel that required CyberLink. I feel like all of the other effects that required CyberLink were kind of like, one-off experimental sort of things. So the last time I tried to record a tutorial with HyperCam on my Windows computer, because this does require Windows and it does require CyberLink PowerDirector, I'm using version 7. It's the only version I know. I don't know if this will work with other versions of CyberLink. But the last time I tried to record a tutorial on Windows, the video and audio got all out of sync. So I just pre-recorded the Windows portion without audio, and I'm going to dub over it. So I'm doing this on a Windows 7 computer with CyberLink PowerDirector 7 and our friend unregistered HyperCam 2. Don't leave home without it. And what are we going to do? So we're going to open up CyberLink PowerDirector. We're going to choose a video, and the video that I chose for today is the VidAmerica VHS logo, the one with the rainbow kind of colors. This is a logo I edited a lot back in ye olden days. If you get this notification about the TV format conflicting, let it convert it for you. So you're probably going to be producing a video in widescreen format and using a video in full screen format. So if that's the case, you want to go into the aspect ratio settings, and you're going to say what the aspect ratio of your input video is, and then change the setting that you think is appropriate in order to make that fit the aspect ratio that you want. Now, if you are using a widescreen clip as input and you're outputting a widescreen clip, then you don't really need to worry about this. But for the most part, you'll probably just want to crop out the sides. So now that you've cropped the video, you're going to go to Effects, or the Effect Room, as the case may be. And you're going to add 3 effects. Bubble, just drag it onto the clip in the timeline. Water Ripple. And then finally, Moonlight. Now, if you go to the Effect tab, what have you, you'll notice that there are settings for these effects. I usually don't change them. You are allowed to change them if you want. Absolutely feel free to experiment. I usually just keep them as the default. And if you play the video at this point, you'll see that, for the most part, it's all put together. I am going to do a little bit of post-processing on FFmpeg, but for now, I'll go to creating the file. So you're going to go to Produce, Create a File. I use .mpeg2 with the profile BD 1920 by 1080 because that is the highest quality that the software is capable of producing. I just was reviewing these other options to see if they helped me at all, but they really don't. So set a file name that you know. And get it rendering. After a couple seconds, it does sometimes take a minute to start up. But after a little while, you should see a preview of your video rendering. and it shouldn't take too terribly long. And the video has been produced. Now, if you hit home, the software will probably freeze, unfortunately, if you're using version 7 at least. But you don't have to worry about it because you're done. So the last thing I'll say about this effect is if you want to use the refractive bubbles instead of bubbles, that's totally fine. It's just an option. Feel free to play around if you want. And otherwise, I think that's it. Okay, now I am going to record the Linux portion of the tutorial. Now, granted, you don't necessarily need Linux for this. You can use Audacity and FFmpeg on Windows, but I am going to be using them on Linux because I tend to do everything that I can on my main Linux system, which is more powerful. So I already ran through most of the video effect. I'll resume talking about the video later, but for now I'm going to talk about the audio effect, which is done in Audacity. So what you're going to do... What's in here? Oh, there it is. So what you're going to do is you're going to open the original video, not the one that you edited in CyberLink, but you're going to edit the original video, your source material in Audacity. Now this is a pretty simple effect. Let me just play this first. Okay, now in order to apply the underwater effect, here's what you have to do. Where is vocoder? You're just going to apply vocoder with the audio and the audio. Like, you know, typically when you apply vocoder, you have one channel is the modulator and one is the carrier, but this time around you're going to use both the same audio as the modulator and the carrier. This does tend to make things a little quiet, so I'm going to apply the compressor to boost the volume a little bit. And then finally, I'm going to normalize it to a maximum volume of -0.1 decibel. And let's have a listen. I'll turn this up a little bit. And it's kind of remarkable how well just applying the vocoder effect and then maybe fixing the volume a little bit really makes the video sound like it's underwater. It has this gurgly, like it's very muffled, it's very bassy, kind of like my voice right now because I'm sick. And, you know, it doesn't really take a lot to get to this state. So you're going to export your audio now that you're done editing it. I mean, that's all there was to it. And I'll call this underwater. Oopsie. Let me rewind a little bit and undo everything I just did. Two things I want to say before I move forward. First, if you get a logo that is in mono instead of stereo, you can just duplicate the track, make it a stereo track, and do the same thing. Another thing I will say is that generally you're going to want to resample your audio. I tend to produce my videos with a sample rate of 48,000 hertz. Most input sources use 44,100 hertz. So I'm going to fix that. Then I'm going to apply all the stuff I just did. So vocoder with all the defaults, compressor. Oh, right, and I didn't review the legacy compressor settings. So when I apply the legacy compressor, I set the threshold and the noise floor to the lowest possible, and I set the ratio of 2.5 to 1. Now, you don't have to use the same settings I do. You just have to make it so that the video doesn't get too terribly quiet. And then I'm going to normalize it to -0.1. Now I will export it. There we go, 48,000 hertz. Underwater. And that should be good. So the last thing I'll do is I'll put everything together in FFmpeg. So I've got the edited video. It's this vidamericaunderwater.mpg, which is what I edited in Windows, and I sent it over to my Linux computer. I've got vidamerica-underwater.flac, which is the edited audio to sound underwater, and I got my corner logo here called cornerlogoanimated.mov. So I'm going to do FFmpeg. And I'll start us off. Note, I am capable of using a VAPI device because my computer has a graphics card. Most people will probably have some VAPI device if they want to use it. You're not required to use it. I'm using it because I like to offload things to my GPU when possible, so I don't waste my CPU cycles, but you don't have to use VAPI device if you don't want to. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to set one of my input sources to be the edited video from Windows. I'm going to set my corner logo to be another one, and I'm going to set my edited audio to be the third one. Lav-fi is my filter chain. First, I will put a filter that you may want. Actually, why don't I do it this way? I'll do format equals YUV-J444P. You probably want this other anyway. You probably want that format anyway. I'll do crop equals W equals 0.96 times IW, H equals 0.54 times IW. Now this that I've just typed here, I'm typing as an example for you, but I'm not actually going to apply it. A lot of old source material has like edges on it if it's not captured properly. So even if you crop it over in PowerDirector, you won't necessarily get rid of all the edges. This is something that you can do to get rid of those edges. If they're relatively small, this will chop them off and it will set your video to be perfectly widescreen. I think if you don't have to worry about the pixel aspect ratio, because if you export it the way that I did in CyberLink PowerDirector, you'll have square pixels. So if you need to chop off any more edges, you can put this crop filter. I'm not going to do that because I don't need to crop off any edges. I'm happy with how the video looked right when it came out of CyberLink. I will do my motion interpolation upscaling. Minterpolate equals MI mode, FPS equals 60, MI mode equals MCI, MC mode equals AOB MC, ME mode equals BIDR, VSB MC equals 1. I'm going to scale this up. And so that's going to be 3840 by 2160 is 4K. And then I'll apply some denoisers, or I guess a single denoiser as the case may be. And I'm going to call this NL because this is everything but my logo. Now I made my logo kind of bluish in the last underwater video I did, so I'm going to do the same thing here. Oopsie, I almost forgot something. I need to specify that I want the video stream of the first input. Yes, because the first input is the edited video. So I'm going to take the video stream of the first input, which is our edited video from CyberLink. I'm going to do all this upscaling stuff, and that's going to be called NL. Then I will do the video stream of the second input, which is 1 because we start from 0. I'm going to do color levels equals BO min equals 0.6 and GO min equals 0.3. And this will make the logo appear brighter and more like turquoise blue. What I'm saying here specifically is that the minimum blue level on the output is 0.6 out of 1, and the minimum green level is 0.3. After I apply that, I think I'm good. So I'll call this LG because that's my logo. And then NL, LG, overlay. If you are rendering with VAPI, the next thing you're going to do is format equals NV12, HW upload, and I'll call that all, or actually I'll call it FV for final video. If you're not using VAPI, or you're not using any kind of hardware graphics rendering, you're not going to need this. You can stop at overlay. So I'll map FV, which is my final video, to the output codec, which for me is going to be AV1, VAPI, and usually I set the quality to 10. And then I'm going to map to audio stream, because input 2, or the third input, is vidamericaunderwater.flac. CA is going to be live opus, and my bit rate is going to be 128K. And I will call this just output.webm. I'll do a quick review before I start this rendering process. So I'm saying with this ffmpeg command, I want to use my graphics card for hardware rendering with the VAPI protocol. My first input is the vidAmerica video that I edited in Windows. My second input is my corner logo, and my third input is the audio that I edited in Audacity. I am first setting the video format of my rendered video to have no chroma subsampling so that it has higher quality when I apply motion interpolation and denoisers and such. Then I'm doing motion interpolation. Then I'm scaling it up to 4K. Then I'm denoising. With my corner logo, I'm making it kind of bluish by upping the levels of blue and green. Then I'm taking the video without my logo and just overlaying the two on top of each other, or overlaying my logo on top of the other video. Then I am preparing it for upload to my graphics card. Now, the specifics of the end of this command are going to be different for you based on what format you're rendering in. This is not by any means one size fits all. These are just the video and audio codecs I tend to prefer. So if you're rendering with something like H.264 or HEVC, these are going to be different. If you're not using VAPI, they're going to be different. If you're using Vulkan, first of all, please let me know how you got it to work, because I've been trying to use Vulkan and I can't get it to work. And second of all, obviously they're going to be different too. So really what matters most is the filter chain in quotes here. Everything should be good at this point, so I'm going to start it rendering. It shouldn't take too long because it's a short video. Okay, the video finished rendering. Now usually my computer does not like when I try to play video at full 4K resolution, so I'm going to do a quick pre-render here. I'm going to take the output that I just made, smaller size, it's going to do its thing. It shouldn't take long at all. And I'm going to play it to see how it looks. All right, so it looks the way I intend. So I think that concludes it for the tutorial. I talked about every step of the way. I talked about the CyberLink step. I talked about Audacity. I talked about bringing everything together in FFmpeg. I do realize at some points that I went through certain things kind of fast. I apologize. If I did go too fast at any point, do feel free to ask me questions in the comments. Also, keep in mind you don't necessarily have to do things exactly the same way that I do. First of all, you should feel free to experiment with the effect, but also you don't necessarily have to use things like FFmpeg to bring the components of the video together. FFmpeg, I've been using that a lot more because it's open source and it does a heck of a lot of stuff. But I know that not everybody is very familiar with FFmpeg, so if you prefer a graphical editor like Kdenlive or Sony Vegas or even CyberLink to put the rest of your video together, that's totally fine. Other than that, I do have some news, some good news and some bad news. Good news is I just turned 29. Happy birthday to me. And if you can believe it, I have had my YouTube channel in my life for more than half of my life total. And bad news is I am currently sick with COVID. I don't know if anyone noticed my voice was maybe a little bit off. But yeah, I'm sick. I'm recovering, but, I'm just kind of bummed about that. But I shouldn't be sick for too long. Things seem to be improving a lot. My voice, if you can believe it, is actually better than it has been recently. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. People who do have CyberLink PowerDirector, absolutely feel free to do whatever you want with this effect. People who don't have CyberLink PowerDirector, I know that there are other things you can do. I've done some kind of like hacky stuff in Sony Vegas to kind of sort of emulate the underwater effect. So if you don't have the requisite software, you are absolutely free to take the software that you have and experiment with it a little bit to try to recreate what's going on. Because I do recognize that CyberLink PowerDirector is a bit more of a niche software package, a little bit rarer than something like Vegas. Thank you everybody for your attention. I hope you found this educational and insightful, and I hope you have a good day.